Alright, guys. I'm gonna talk about something that's getting a whole lot of attention here lately, and it's something that many, many people are being lied to about. And sadly, almost everyone's just gobbling it up. Inflation. So, inflation is all over the place, and it's like becoming this huge freaking hot topic that people are pointing fingers, blaming Biden, blaming the current administration, all that good stuff. So, one problem here is that, for the most part, it's being used. It's bullshit. It's not a. It doesn't work in the way that they're portraying. So, just for example, we've got this is the best example I can think of, but it's happening everywhere in pretty much every single consumer region, I guess, or area. We've got Pepsi, who cited that their materials, resources, all that good stuff were rising, so they increased their prices. Pretty typical stuff, especially as of late. But they increased their prices, and so under a normal free market economy where there's competition, or legitimate competition, that would harm them drastically. In the United States, at least, there's only one major competitor, and that's Coca Cola. So Pepsi drove their prices up, and I would be pretty much willing to bet that they had already been in talks with Coca Cola beforehand. I don't know that, but it's just the way things are done now. So immediately afterward, Coke did the exact same thing and rose their prices. So what's gone now? We don't have competition. It's price gouging. And this happens everywhere. The problem is antitrust laws have been basically decimated since the 80s, and there's no enforcement. As a matter of fact, if you're a Republican, it's kind of the opposite. It's like the sky is the limit. If you're a greedy corporate piece of crap, you can do whatever you want. That's the problem. That's the actual problem that everybody blames inflation for. So you see this everywhere. You see it in like the drastically higher cost of meat in recent years compared to what they used to be. And it's the exact same thing over and over and over again. Wealth is concentrated, or specifically, well, wealth is, but specifically the consumer, I don't know what to call it, the specific field, I guess, of like meat packing. There's four major producers of meat in the United States. Four. They all work together. They all do the same thing. One drives up their prices, the other ones follow suit. It's like the opposite of how things are supposed to work because they're not competing with each other. And this is across the board the exact same thing. And you're being lied to about it. You're being told that, like, this magical inflation. It's like, especially Fox News, it's all they talk about over and over. They're like blaming inflation for everything. And then they'll directly blame Joe Biden, even though, honestly, the president has very little to nothing to do with it. So, if you wanted to actually solve the problem, to actually fix the root of the issue, you need antitrust laws. You need to break up monopolies and make it to where there isn't these loopholes to where you can have like subsidiaries or whatever and like operate under different names, still be controlled by the same people, but it's technically not a monopoly. That's what's fucking everything up. It's very, very simple economics. It's like, I know almost nothing about economics, and this is cut and dry, obvious as fuck. They don't even really hide it. So, when you like constantly cite inflation, honestly, I don't really take you seriously. It's like a boogeyman at this point. It's just retarded. You don't even mean anything when you say it. It's just like a abstract, generalized. It's like saying woke. Like it doesn't even mean anything anymore. It it's I almost went into a tangent about woke, and that's not exactly what I'm trying to go over here. But do your research, like dig into it, and you'll see that all of this bullshit, all of this like you've also got grocery stores which are doing the exact same thing, and it's a similar deal where they're all of the power in this particular field is all at the top, and there's like a handful of people that are controlling everything, and they all work together so that they can. And all of these people, by the way, and like I went over the examples of Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they're making record-breaking profits across the board, meat, everything, record profits. So they can't claim that it like if their claim was accurate, that it's inflation driving everything up, then their profits would like kind of stale out, or it would be like roughly the same, or they would even drop. And that's what would happen if there were competition, right? Because let's say you're a fast food restaurant, McDonald's versus Burger King or something, and McDonald's rose their prices because of inflation. They had to because blah 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 whatever. Just hypothetically, Burger King would do better if they're able to just barely make ends meet, because they would gain a vast majority of the market because they have more competitive prices. It's very simple shit. So, but that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing like across the board, like I don't know this. This is just an example of what's happening. Like McDonald's raises their prices, Burger King goes, "Oh, that's a good idea. We can like make drastically more profit. We're going to do the same thing." They're not competing across everywhere. That's what's happening. So don't blame inflation. That's retarded. It's not it's not really a big factor here. It's corporate greed. That's the problem. The problem is there's no antitrust laws. There's no accountability really. And when people look and they go, like historically, the economy has been something that Republicans have won on most of the time across the board when it comes to a majority of Americans. Only now is that starting to change to where more people, at least the last poll that I saw, it was like a month or so ago, I think, more people by a small margin thought that Harris would be more beneficial to the economy than Trump. And I mention that because it's a slow change. I guess people are starting to catch on to the bullshit. And by the way, I'm not saying Harris is like perfect, any of that stuff. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just kind of citing what I see here. And so Republicans typically, it's their tried and true tactic, and it's just not working anymore. They're telling people inflation, blah blah blah. Joe Biden has destroyed the economy, all this stuff. It has just about nothing to do with him. And by the way, Biden has tried to crack down on antitrust laws, and he's failed because there isn't bipartisan support for it. And that's the issue. It's at a deadlock. So if you're looking to fix the economy and you're going to try to do so by putting a Republican in place, you're actually going to make the problem worse. It's very simple. Republicans don't have checks and balances or try to like keep corporate greed in check ever. It's like the opposite of how they operate. In fact, Donald Trump is the man who gave massive, insane fucking tax cuts to these greedy billionaires and millionaires, etc. Like, it doesn't take a very smart person to see, like, if you can agree that the root cause of these problems is corporate greed, which it should be extremely freaking obvious at this point, the last thing you want to do is elect a person that is all about corporate greed, that's going to give them whatever they want. No questions asked, like he's always done. Like, I don't need to be like, oh my God, Harris is great in order to make that case. Like, I don't need to be like this hardcore ultra Democrat or anything. It's obviously better just in the lesser of two evils sense, which seems to be the case. It's what we always have. If anyone disagrees, I would like to hear your your take, and try to do your best to remain logical. Yes, I did call people retarded, but honestly, that's because they're retarded. You can feel free to call me retarded if it makes you feel better, but please back it up with some sort of premises that, like, expand on why you believe so. Other than that, if it's just the typical, like, just a simple ad hominem and that's it, there's like no supporting shit. It's just like, yeah, you're stupid or what. I'm just gonna ignore you. That's like a waste of my time. That's like you trying to make yourself feel better about being a moron. But anyhow, I believe this is about all I wanted to cover, and feel free to chime in, whether you support it or you disagree with me, whatever. Like, feel free to get some dialogue going, and maybe we can talk about this a little bit more in depth on Friday when we do a live stream. Thank you for your time.